Hello and welcome to the beautiful city of Wells in Somerset. Now, as politicians gather in Copenhagen to discuss their climate change goals, we're asking, is it time for us to do our bit, or are we happy to sit back and leave the lights switched on? The Bishop of Bath and Wells tells us why we need to look beyond this city or even country to fight the big challenges ahead. Just up the road on the Mendip Hills, we hear from one of Britain's leading climate skeptics.
I'm Christopher Booker, and later in the programme I'll be coming on to tell you why I believe that global warming is nothing to worry about.
And you've heard of white-collar workers. Is there really a green-collar revolution on the way, or is it all talk by the government? Welcome to my lovely home, I wish. This is, of course, the Bishop's Palace in Wells, where assorted bishops have lived for the last 800 years. And the city of Wells gets its name from the spring waters which come up from these grounds. So the environment and the church has always been important here. In fact, the current bishop is a passionate environmentalist. Indeed, one of the few things the modern church is united about is the need to do something about global warming, as Paul Baltrop reports.
I've got on my bike. Well, we are talking climate change, so I thought I'd better cut my carbon emissions. I'm off to see a church which has already done that. At St Michael's in South Bristol, they've got solar panels and a passionate vicar.
We installed them in February of this year, and yes, it's going really, really well.
And in the vestry, yes, a bike. He says climate change is a big concern for his congregation.
We've got to listen to what the scientists say, and we've got to tell the government, yes, we believe our scientists, we've got to change the world, we've got to start preserving our world, the world that God created for all of us.
It's not just talk. He's eager to get out of the pulpit and onto his pedals. He's cycling for 3 dark December days to take part in a climate change demonstration. It's horribly early in the morning, it's cold, it's dark, there are puddles on the ground, and yet already dozens of people have turned up here at the cathedral to join this cycle all the way to London. There's only one way to find out what really motivates them. Let's go and join them. There are dreadlocks and dog collars. The 50 riders vary from young activists to balding bishops.
Unless we do something, we're going to make the planet unfit for human habitation somewhere down the line, and as it transpires, it looks as though it might be a bit sooner rather than later.
Half a dozen vicars are going the whole way, 150 miles over 3 days.
If it's cool and dry, that's what we want, because it generates a bit of heat cycling, especially when you're a little bit flabby like me.
Ask the Lord to provide some decent weather.
Yes, amen.
Then they're off, with the bishop coming along for the first mile. This is just one of many actions the church is organising in the run-up to Copenhagen. The route takes in the Bristol to Bath cycle path and some beautiful parts of the West Country. A reminder of the natural order they want to preserve.
We cannot go on squandering our resources as we do. And and I think as well, we've got to preserve this wonderful world. Look at it today, absolutely beautiful.
Journey's end is Westminster and Saturday's protest outside Parliament. Bishops, archbishops, activists and politicians are hoping it'll help influence world leaders gathering in Denmark. But some are going further, literally. Rowena and Peter Merson and their tandem are among Christian Aid campaigners who'll be cycling to the summit.
I think the bike's better prepared than we are, probably.
They're in their late 50s. Friends wonder why they don't want a quieter life.
I think they think we're completely mad,
The
generally.
people are very supportive.
The big issue of climate change, we didn't really become aware of it until about 10 or 15 years ago. And then it seems to be just, I think, now it's just become the biggest issue for mankind, I think, and we've just got to crack it.
They're training in the lanes around their home in Somerset. Ahead of them, a long ferry journey and 3 days of cycling. By the time they pedal into Copenhagen next weekend, they hope a climate change deal will be taking shape. If not, they say, the world will have a lot of praying to do.
That was Paul Baltrop reporting. Well, I've come inside the inner sanctum of the Bishop's Palace. This is the Bishop's study, and I'm joined by the Bishop. That's Peter Price. Thank you very much indeed for having us.
Nice to see you.
Why has the Church bought into climate change in the way that it has?
Because in the history of the Jewish and the Christian faith, the idea of humanity being responsible for the welfare of the planet and those people who live on it has been a part of the whole biblical tradition. And therefore, in a sense, the climate change issue, the poverty issue, all those issues are integral to the challenge for the faiths, and I would say in particular at the moment it's a very particular challenge for Christians.
So how far do you want the politicians to go in Copenhagen?
Well, the politicians have got to ask themselves the question, have we got the information that we need, and can we rely on it for the issues about how warm the planet is and the future of humanity? If they are satisfied that they have got the information they need, then they must help us and guide us as to what's the appropriate action for us to be taking for the welfare and the benefit of all of humanity, not just simply for those of us in the north.
And what would you say to the doubting Thomases, those people who have got serious questions about whether this really is an emergency or not?
Well, I think they're right to be asking the questions, and I think always when you deal with an issue of this complexity, it's very important that we explore all the avenues. I do think, however...
You don't doubt yourself?
I don't think I really doubt myself that there is a crisis. I sometimes wonder whether it's as critical as we might imagine. But at the same time, I mean, there are some very clear indicators to 2030 that, you know, we will have reached a particular point in the oil crisis by that stage, or not in oil by that stage. There will be issues of population around that stage. Those are fairly predictable things, and they are alarming in themselves. But I'm a great believer in the fact that humanity does have the capacity to make a difference, and if we make our decisions now, we can do it well.
Are you worried that climate change has become a new religion, and that people say we've sinned, we're ruining the world, we're going to hell, it's getting hot, and the only way that we can recover from that is to make sacrifices and be good and say we're sorry? Isn't that rather parallel to what Christianity says about something else?
Well, the answer to your question is no, I don't believe it's become a new religion. Of course, there are always people who are enthusiasts and who will take these things to, you know, good extremes. Do I think we should make changes in our lifestyle? I've already indicated that I think we should, because we have a common concern for all humanity as people of faith, and I believe people who do not necessarily have faith may have those feelings too.
Bishop Peter, for the time being, thank you very much.